সুপ্রিয় দর্শক সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি TBN Special. Welcome to another edition of TBN Special. This time, politics and election 2024. Meet your candidate. Today, our guest is Paul King. Welcome. Few things I want to add before we get into our discussions. So I want to tell our audience who you are and what we're discussing, and then we're going to take it from there. How's that?
Sounds great.
All right, very good. So, as I said, today our guest is Paul King. We will ask your question, আপনাদের প্রশ্ন, so that he knows or you know who he is, why and what he's running for. He's a businessman and conservative Republican candidate for New York's 5th Congressional District, which is mostly in Queens and a very small tiny part in Nassau County. He was born and raised and grew up in Bell Harbor. He will explain his desire to work across the aisle. I heard that many times, looking at his biography and data and his websites, campaign website. He said he has desire to work across the aisle to help all of the people in his district, or district that he represents or will represent if he is elected, to achieve the American dream through equality of opportunity. Once again, welcome and thank you for making time. We are going to ask, as I said, people's questions.
Excellent.
And we'll hear from you.
Excellent.
How is the campaign going?
It is going really, really well. Now, I realize it's a big district where it's mostly Democrats registered, but we have common ground, common values. I ran 2 years ago and got to know people, but I was just a regular guy on the street then. Now people have faith in me. People, when I walk down Hillside Avenue in the Bengali neighborhoods, when I walk in along Liberty Avenue and more Indian folks, people know me and they understand that we're on the same team. So it's great that to be building those bridges, even if I wasn't running for Congress, building those bridges is good for our community. But I think it's going to get me a lot of votes too.
All right, Mr. King, can I call it Paul?
Please do.
Okay, so that's easier. It's going to flow much faster. So, Paul, you are running against Gregory Mix, who's incumbent. Gregory Mix, who is in the office, I think, over 24 years.
Yes.
Got a lot of money. He got lots of money.
Indeed.
Lots of power. Money to spend. Many would say that it is like David taking on Goliath. Why would you do it?
Well, I do like to joke that I'm taking on the most powerful politician in Queens, but it's all about the end of what should be happening in government. I grew up believing in the American dream. My grandfather's an immigrant. I believe in the land of opportunity. I know so many people in Queens are starting to not believe that anymore because their neighborhoods are stuck. Or even good neighborhoods, good like first-generation American neighborhoods where good things are happening, like on Hillside Avenue and the Bengali Strip. They feel like the government's cutting their legs out from under them or trying to teach their children. They're giving them a bad education and undermining values.
Right.
So they're like, this isn't what I signed up for. Well, what's wrong can be fixed, and that's what I do for a living. I fix systemic problems, and I've got grandchildren. I want to be able to pass this country on to them and believe that it really is the land of opportunity for immigrants, like my family, people in your family, but also for my children and grandchildren who are here. That's my passion.
Okay, so you said quite a few things here. You talked about changes and American dreams. When you say you will make changes, what are those changes you're talking about?
Okay, and I have the ability to be specific here.
Of course.
Because everyone's always like, oh, education stinks, or there's not enough jobs. It's easy to complain. And I can complain. I usually don't say much about Mr. Meeks, but he's like most other politicians. He knows how to spend a little bit of money. He doesn't know how to solve problems. And that's why Washington spends tons of our money, but never helps our families get better. I'm good at education. Not just saying I'll improve education, I'm an educator. I know that instead of wasting money in the classroom, we need to help families succeed. So I have a few steps for that. Improve access to jobs and improve access to capital. If you want to be a homeowner or business owner, you got to be able to get money to get that seed money to get started. I know how to fix all those elements of the system to give you the freedom to succeed. And that's really what America's supposed to be about.
I'm going to come back to those points because I have specific questions about your 5 points. I'll go over these things. So most people are suffering from those things across the country. It's not about New York, not about Queens.
True.
It could be Midwest, down south, or West Coast. Doesn't matter. Food price is one of those. Inflation. So we'll come back and talk about that.
Okay.
You talked, I brought it up. You also touched on this, Gregory Mix, and you said he doesn't know how to fix it. I did hear some of your conversation that he's a carrier politician, right? But when you're running for a position and you have an incumbent, you would like to debate so you can get your points across. Both people, we get to see both parties and we get to see both candidates and hear from you guys directly and how you tackle each other. So, having said that, how frustrating has it been not being able to get the opportunity to debate Congressman Gregory Mix? I know you tried many times. You personally called that I know of. And for him not to engage with you at all during this campaign, how is it like?
Well, it's disappointing. I understand that he has no upside for him. He thinks he's going to get reelected for free without having to work at it, without having to earn our votes. So why have to deal with me? But it's supposed to be a democracy. It's supposed to be the American way to have the battle of ideas. So it's an insult to a lot of people because not only isn't he showing up for a debate, he's not showing up in your community. He's not showing up in my community. So he's not even doing his job representing us. The least he could do is say why he should get 2 more years. But he thinks it's an automatic stamp. So he's going to win. We're going to prove him wrong. That
brings you're leading me to that question that he thinks it's an automatic thing. People just rubber stamp him because who he is, and he's been there for a while. We hear that he brings in yearly $2 million to his districts, and he brags about it. He talks about it from DC to here, from federal government. Is that enough? Number one. Number two is this is going to be your second campaign. If you look at your previous campaign, 2022 rather, what is the difference between this time and the last time in 2022? And what are you doing differently? Have you done anything differently?
Oh, yes. On the money question, because that's important. The $2 million is how much comes into his campaign coffers. But he brings, last year he brought $15 million back to the district in earmarks. Grace Meng brought 13, Anthony D'Esposito 20. We have a multi-trillion-dollar economy. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right.
This is just money that they use to buy our votes and say, hey, I'm doing a good job. They put out a press release. That doesn't solve any problems. So you're absolutely right. It's buying votes. It's not actually doing anything productive. And they all do it.
Right.
I want to solve problems. And what's different this time is the level of support engagement. Again, I'm not just that guy walking around the neighborhood. When I'm up on Hillside Avenue now, I might be walking down the street with 6, men who were born in Bangladesh, some of them from the, going back to 1971.
Of course.
And they'll be engaging other people on my behalf, going down the street. Everyone's speaking Bangla. I have no idea what's being said except occasionally Paul King, and they seem to be happy when they're saying it.
No kidding. Okay. So, but when you go out there, what are the parts that you have visited? Mostly in Jamaica, Queens, Rockaways, or Ozil Park, and it's predominantly immigrant communities there, and there's a huge chunk of Bangladeshi, Nepalese, Guyanese. Immigrants are living there. What do you tell them? How do you communicate with them? And what do they tell you? Because we have this notion, generally speaking, Republicans are tough on immigration, tough on social, safety nets, right? But we do need it. How do you tackle those kind of things?
Okay. And so I spend almost none of my time in Rockaway. I spend it all in kind of these Indian corridors, whether it's Liberty Avenue, that extended area where you've got Sikhs and Guyanese, and then up in the Bengali community. And I'll be honest, 2 years ago I didn't even know how large the Bengali community was. True. And that there were any Nepalese here.
Correct.
But I spend all my time there, and what I did starting last time, and I do every time now, is when I meet people, I listen first.
Yeah,
I believe we have common values, and that's always proven right on that. We want what's best for our children. We generally believe in God, whoever we're praying to. By the way, if you're Hindu or you celebrate Diwali, happy Diwali. And the government, the kind of the Democratic Party model,
Right.
which is on its best day is to help people who need help, but on its worst day, it's keeping you trapped in a system of support. We need to help people have a hand up, and I support that fully in safety net programs. We also need to build a way, give you the freedom to be successful on your own. That's kind of the Republican way, and we've fallen down. And I shouldn't say me, because I'm doing it since I've gotten in.
Right.
But my party hasn't been out there explaining that to people. So if they have a bad reputation, they deserve it.
Okay. So you're saying, hey, it's not on me, it's them. But people will come back and say, you know what, I'm going to hold off to that question. I'm going to come back to you a little bit later.
Please do.
So you are a Republican. You're not, it's clear, no questions. Not an easy thing in New York, especially in New York City, for Republicans to gain momentum because of different majorities that exist, in Congress, right? If you are to be elected, or you are elected, from your record, I see you have the ability to work with across the aisle. As the head of the civic board, you did not pick and choose which elected officials to work with. You want the best results for your community that you're going to be representing if you're elected. So if you are elected to Congress, how would you be able to communicate to the voters who have not made up their minds yet? Just because, you can say, I'm a Republican, I can work with anybody, which you say. Is that something you feel comfortable telling people? And do you believe that that's something you can really accomplish?
I'm 100% confident, and that's not because I'm some superior politician. It's because this is what my career has taught me as a problem solver, as a consultant. You work with people from different perspectives. You listen first so you can understand. You don't just go out and make promises or think you have a cape on to solve everything. But again, listen, find common ground. We have plenty of common ground on both sides of the aisle. And I'll be in Congress, I'll be in almost a unique position. I'll be representing a heavily Democratic district with a lot of black Democrats in inner city, as well as a lot of immigrants. And I know that there are white Republican areas in, say, Kentucky and West Virginia that have some of the same problems. But no one from the Democratic side ever goes and says, hey, let's solve this together. I'll be able to do that. But as someone who's representing an inner city, I'll also be able to go to Democrats who represent other inner cities and say, here's our common ground. Here are my solutions. You want to add to it? Let's get to Congress together instead of playing this us against them game, which is pretty much what everyone does. Gregory Meeks votes with his party 100% of the time. You're not solving problems. You're just playing a game.
Right. So you're saying that if we look up his records, we'll see his voting is almost rubber stamping his party line.
Exactly.
But without looking deep into it, because every politics is local, regardless of how you see it. Then you can go to state level and maybe federal level. At that point, it's economics and foreign policy and whatnot, right? But generally speaking, local policies and local rules and regulations and officials affects our lives. Now, if you are a businessman, you know how to run a business. Most people in your district or district that you're actually going to be representing, small business owner, mom and pop shops, people who are working day to day, their issues are generally the same, who came before them. Now they're facing quite a few things. One of those is school sizes, the class sizes rather. They are getting increasingly tight, meaning more and more students are fitting into one class, becoming difficult for students and parents at the same time. That's one issue that everybody feels, and which is true. I'm sure you'll agree with that. This is a systematic problem. Now, there are other issues that people in your district hear, and it scares them when they hear about immigration. Because generally speaking, Republican Party it's known that they're anti-immigrants. That's one thing most people would like to know. Where is your stance?
Yeah.
Also comes down to safety nets, especially I'm talking about Medicare. People feel that one of the richest countries in the world should provide its citizen who needs it to get them Medicaid, Medicare. There shouldn't be any question asked. Where is your stance in this? Few things.
Okay. Well, first off, I must disagree. The Republican Party isn't anti-immigrant.
Okay.
Because we're all immigrants. You know, our parents or our grandparents were. We're anti-illegal immigration. What's been done, especially the last 3 years since Biden ripped open the border, you talk about class sizes, where are all these kids coming from suddenly? We've got tens of thousands of people here who have come here as a cheat, and they're getting to the front of the line ahead of people, hardworking people from your community and other communities who did it honestly. But the whole, if you take a Pew survey, a Gallup survey, the overwhelming Republicans and Democrats believe in immigration, how important it is to our country. We just are passionate about it being legal immigration. We don't understand why the Democrats in power, including Gregory Meeks, he has a 0 record on border security over his career. We don't get that. We think that's wrong. The second part of the question was
the small businesses. They feel stressed, and they also look out for things, especially when they hear stories.
Medicare, sorry, I don't know.
Medicaid. I'm sorry.
No, that was real.
So immigration, you answered the question. Let's stay on the Medicare.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, a couple of different things. First off, yeah, I fully believe in the safety net programs. Social Security, Medicare, these are two of the most important programs that our government ever came up with. Now, they're structured right now to fail, and no one wants to do anything about it. So in say 10 years, Social Security is going to go bankrupt. We're all going to take a big hit in our benefits. By the way, I'll be pulling Social Security by then.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm also in favor of doing things to save both programs, you know, so that they work. In my opinion, this is, you know, I can't go back and change time. I think Obamacare was a huge missed opportunity. Kind of to your point, I would have liked, and this doesn't sound Republican at all, I would have liked the National Wellness Program.
Okay, so that's kind of something new I'm hearing, because generally speaking, the idea behind repealing Obamacare is we want to cut costs. And people ask questions. This is one of those basic necessity that we need, regardless how much it costs. You know, and then the taxation comes along with that. Okay, you know, how do we actually pay for this? This is how it comes. Yeah. But nonetheless, it's one of those necessities that people need. And that's where they're kind of iffy, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? How do you address that thing?
Yeah, see, I could sit here and give you horror story after horror story about Obamacare.
Okay, right.
And I won't because of time. But as a business owner who took a big hit, you know, and my employees lost quality of care because of Obamacare, I can go down the line, and you could say, I don't like that, but you can't repeal it without having a good plan to replace it.
Okay,
and that's the rub. You know, unless you have a better plan, we need to keep giving services to people. We can't pull it away and say, we'll figure something out eventually.
Right. So you are saying essentially you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you can just pull the rug out of me without having a plan B.
100%.
So, hey, Obamacare doesn't work, but you know what? I have U.S. Care. I'm just throwing a name. And that is going to be better for you. Here are the deals.
Exactly.
Right? So you introduce that, and you can say, you know, this one goes away. If you like, we can vote on this one, and then we can go from there. So you do support the safety net. It could be named anything. It doesn't matter. Right. So long it is there as a safety net. Okay. I think that's a good plan. It's a very good plan. Now, when it comes to, and this is, I'm talking about the local, your constituents, most of them are small shop owners, business people, you know, they need a lot of help and they need to grow. But, you know, in 50s and 60s, you had these pop shops everywhere. We don't see them anymore because we have Walmart, we have Amazon, killing off all the small businesses. You can't compete with them. Do you have any plan for small businesses in your neighborhoods?
Yeah, well, one of the things we're luckier about here in the city, in Queens, we don't have as many of those big stores. You know, we don't let them in, and that's good because this is the fabric of our community. And my grandfather was a soda pop maker, so he made soda. He started out, came here when he was 10, started collecting bottles when he was 12. That was his first job. Eventually owned his own business. So, you know, I have passion for that. And that's the fabric of our community and our culture. The people like the Bengalis owning their stores, what are they selling? They're not selling generic stuff that Walmart sells. That's who we are. So, but yes, as a small business owner, lower taxes, lower regulation, and actually better crime prevention, because retail is a low margin business. I know this.
Right.
You can't have people walking in and saying, "Oh, I could take $999 worth of stuff and leave," and no one does anything about it. So I think we just need to protect them and make it easier for you to succeed, and you'll succeed.
So safety comes along, and you're saying
Absolutely.
That's one of the issues that, not helping the business owners, and you do want to pay attention to small business owners so they can grow, the neighborhood grows, it brings in more tax dollars from them.
Right.
You don't have to go to federal government every time
It's the
and
little
tap
engine.
onto it. Okay. You're part of the Community Board 14. You are a businessman. You're a conservative Republican. If you are elected, what would be the first thing you'd do?
I'd have to answer this in two parts.
Okay.
One is I'm going to get my team together. I've got these, this American dream, the things I talked about, the building blocks. I'm going to say, let's go out and start building that legislation and getting the team together. That's going to take X months to do.
Right.
In the short term, I don't like having to work on problems, but we've got problems that are affecting the cost of living and this, the open border, and they're hurting people throughout our district. So I would jump all over those with the president. If it's President Trump, it'll be easy for me to work with him, but I'm going to work with whomever's there and say, okay, we need to stop the policies, the reckless spending that devalued the money and drives up prices, and we need to take steps to fix the border, the flood. The first step is when you have a flood, cut the flow off. We've got to fix the southern border. Otherwise, we'll never solve the problem here locally. So I would jump all over those problems, but at the same time, I'd have my team saying, we're going to fix the American dream. That's our real mission. So let's get on education, jobs, and capital.
Many people who are watching, believe it or not, among the Bangladeshis, many of them are staunch supporter of a Republican team, party rather.
Mm-hmm.
They are listening, and so are the people who are undecided as of yet, because this campaign is unlike any other campaign.
Right.
So many crazy things are happening, right? The people who are listening to you, Bangladeshi descendant especially, and their voters, what is your message to them? Why would they vote you? And how can they find you on the ballot paper?
All right. Well, three messages. One is, I respect and believe in your community, and I'm going to fight for your American dream with all the policies I've got. That'll be my power of Congress. The second thing is, I also respect your values, your devotion to God, and I will stand against anyone who says you have to trade in being American, you have to give that up as a parent, because that's what's going on, especially with this heinous Prop 1 that's on the back of the ballot. And then the third thing is, regardless of what happens in this election, you're such a force here. You should be here in Queens. I'm going to help you build that Republican club for those of you who want to be Republicans, so that your voice is heard in all the decisions, and ultimately your folks are on the ballot sitting here instead of me, because that's our future.
Paul King, I thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure seeing you here in person, and hopefully things work out well for you. I wish you good luck. We'll see you again, hopefully after the election, and we'll take it from there.
Sounds excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. সবার কাছ থেকে বিদায় নিচ্ছি আজকে এই পর্যন্তই। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। শুভরাত্রি।
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TBN 24 টেলিভিশন বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।